Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be making this yoke bustier top with a back waistline. Now for this, I got a couple of requests on Instagram and on here. So if this is something you'd like to learn how to make, please stick around. So as always, I'm going to start off with my basic bodice block. So here I am just marking out the lines, labeling the true bust line, the hip line, the waistline, just to make sure all those points are marked out. And here also I'm just marking out the center back. Now this dress is a straight dress, so I will also extend it into a dress block by just extending the measurement from the hip down to the bottom, like so. And also here on this pattern, I did make a few adjustments because my client asked me to add extra allowance because she felt she might have added some weight. So here you'd see on the hip, I added about half an inch on both sides. And I also went ahead to add an extra side seam allowance. Usually I just leave my seam allowance to 1 inch, but per request, I just added an extra 1 inch just so that she has enough allowance for later. Now measuring from the waistline, I'm going to go ahead and mark my knee level. Here I marked 21 inches and then also made sure I got a straight line by measuring from the hip line down to get the actual measurement. Now after marking those points, I'm just going to go ahead and connect with my ruler like so. Now to shape out the knee, I'm going to measure 1 inch on the side on the knee level and then measure 1 1/4 on the center back. And next, I'm just going to connect those points. To draw the back neckline, I'm going to first measure along my shoulder. So here my shoulder was about 4 3/4 inch. So I marked that, and then the excess was the dot, which I don't need, so I just marked that out. And next I brought the armhole down with half an inch, and then I reconnected the new armhole point like so. So this was supposed to be a corset back, but last minute she changed her mind and wanted a zipper instead. But here I had already recorded the process of, doing a corset back, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys anyways. Now back on the shoulder, I'm going to measure the shoulder width, which here I used 3 inches. So when I was drawing the back neckline, I didn't have a specific measurement, so I basically just ruled from the armhole towards the center back, and then also here from the shoulder down to the neckline at the back. So to mark the open back, I measured 1 1/2 inch on the waistline, and then towards the top of the neckline, I measured 2 inches. Next, I'm just going to connect like so. So next, I'm going to extend the dot to the top of the neckline, and then just turn this into a panel where I'll be inserting a boning later. So here I'm just marking out the points where I'll be adding my seam allowances. So after that, I'm basically just going to cut my pattern out through the new outlines. Now after cutting, this is what my back pattern looks like. So moving on to the front, I'm first going to mark out my shoulder length, which was 4 3/4 inch, also the same as 12 cm. Also bringing down the armhole with about half an inch and then just reconnecting like so. And next I'm just going to go ahead and cut my pattern out through the new outline. Now on the front pattern, I'm going to start off by first measuring the depth of my neckline. So for that, I'm going to measure from the base of my neckline and then mark 9 inches, which is the same as 23 cm. Measuring from the neck point, I'm going to mark the underbust length of 14 1/4 inch, which is the same as 36 cm. Next, I'm going to rule a straight line across like so, and then mark the underbust shaping. Now when I mark the underbust shaping, I usually use between half to 1 inch based on the bust size. So smaller bust sizes will start at half, and then larger sizes will go up to about 1 inch. So here I use 3/4 inch, also the same as 2 cm. Next I'm going to mark point X, which is halfway between the shoulder dot and the waist dot. Next, I'm just going to connect using my French curve like so. So for the waist shaping, I didn't shape it as much as I would on a regular corset, mostly because she wanted more of an illusion of a corset than for it to fit as tight as it would. So all I did was just take 1/2 inch on each side of the dots, and then I just reconnected the new dot line like so. So to mark the box waistline, I'm going to measure 4.5 inch from my waistline, which is the same as 11 cm. Now towards the side, I'm going to bring it down 1 inch below the waistline. Next, I'm just going to connect through these new points like so. Now this design did have a cut under the bust, so basically I'm just going to connect from the depth of the neckline, connect towards the under bust like so, and then just draw a slight curve towards the side of the pattern. So here I'm just going to mark out the points where I'll be adding my seam allowances. Now once I'm done, I'm just going to separate the pattern around the under bust and also around the back's waistline like so. So on the skirt part of the dress, I'm going to be moving the dart allowance towards the side by just measuring the dart width and then taking that same measurement to the side, like so. Next, I'm just going to connect with my French curve to match to the hip point. Now back to the top part of the dress, I'm going to mark out my neckline and also the yoke. So to do this, first I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the underbust dart and then close the shoulder dart. So to draw the neckline, I'm going to be connecting from about mid armhole point now all the way down to the depth of the neckline, like so. So on the shoulder, I'm also going to mark out the same width I used on the back part of the shoulder, which was 3 inches. Next, I'm going to mark a new neckline for the two part. So basically, I just marked 1.5 inch. To avoid gaping around the neckline, I'm going to mark a point from mid neckline up onto my point X, slash open, and then overlap with 1/2 inch, like so. Now this is something I do when I'm having full necklines. So if it's not a corset or a bustier, so definitely you want to overlap your neckline to avoid any kind of gaping around there. Because the yoke is going to be attached over the bust, I won't be doing any chest shaping. So here I'm just going to draw out the second neckline on the toe part of the dress. So if you've made it far to this point of the video, please give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe if you haven't. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much. Also don't forget to turn on your notification bell so you never miss a video from me. Thanks guys. So here I'm just going to cut out my yoke and also separate the bottom part along the bust curve, like so. So at this point, my pattern is pretty much done. The next, I'm just going to place them out on my fabric and cut. But the two part of this, I already went ahead and cut it off camera. I basically just added my seam allowance all around, cut and fold, and then added seam allowance around the neckline, the shoulder, and the armhole, as well as the bottom part of the yoke. So here I'm just pinning out the other parts of the pattern on the fabric. So here I did cut against the grain, mostly because this particular fabric, the actual grain was just so stiff. I felt like there will be a problem when I'm like ironing out the seams, especially around the bust curve. So here I went ahead to lay the fabric on my interfacing. So for this, I used the fleece fusible interfacing, which is the same as wadding. So to cut the lining, I just taped the top part and the waistline of the pattern so that I don't have too much pieces on my lining part. So here I'm just cutting the back part of the lining, also the front part of the lining, adding my seam allowances and all, and then just cutting out. Now for the sewing part of this dress, I didn't have a full sewing tutorial, but I did record each of the steps that it took to get to the end product. So here is after I've added my interfacing. So after the first layer of interfacing, I always like to add a second layer, missing out the seam allowances. This way when you're ironing, your seam lays better and it's not too bulky around the seams. Now please note the double interfacing was only added on the bust part of the fabric. So here are my lining pieces. Basically I just joined using 1/2 inch around the bust curve. Now here at this point, I've gone ahead to join the bust part and the back waistline using 1/2 inch and then also ironing out in place. Now this part, I went ahead to add the bone casing on the back waistline. So here I basically just joined the seams around on the bust using 1/2 inch. And this is what it looks like from the back. Now on the lining part, I added 2 sets of bonings, one around the breast curve and one towards the side. Like I said, she didn't want an actual corset, so this bone casing that I added to the front is just an illusion. But the actual boning that is holding the bustier up is the boning on the lining. So at this point, I've used the lining to face the neckline before attaching the yoke. Now I didn't attach the yoke before I faced the neckline because this neck is a really deep neckline and it's usually very hard to maneuver. So how I attached the yoke was basically just pinned it along the neckline like so, and then made a top stitch to hold it in place. Now I did this because I was having an applique covering right around that neckline, so it didn't get to show in the end. But I can always show you guys in another video how to turn deep necklines like this that has a tulle fabric attached. So for the back part, I know I didn't show that on camera, but I basically joined it about the same way I did this. So this is the end of the video, guys. I hope you've been able to learn a thing or two, and thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.